congratulations, man, on the film finally coming out. It's been such a build-up and so highly anticipated for so long. Is it kind of like relieving to have it sort of finally be hitting theaters?
I guess it's very frightening as well, though. I mean, when something's so hyped, it's just like when I didn't realize it was going to be so hyped. It is scary when it's coming out.
When did you realize that this was so hyped and this was so anticipated? Comic-Con was when you sort of found out.
That was the first time I found out. So I was so like, huh? At Comic-Con the whole time. I mean, I'd seen things on the internet before that, but just walking into that big room, I was like, oh, okay, this is what this is. Like,
how are you dealing with sort of this new rock star status? Because I see these photos of you coming out of these cars and there's security and all these cameras. Like, it's got to be a strange experience for you.
It's funny something. I mean, I was in Italy doing promotion and stuff, and I was in some bar or something, and there's like 6 security guys like bundling you out of the place, and no one knows who you are. And it's like, who is that idiot with all the security around him? Like, it's like I paid them just to attract attention to myself. But no, it is really funny. It's like, the whole thing just seems completely ridiculous sometimes.
I mean, the premise is not ridiculous, even though it is a world of vampires. It's very kind of grounded in reality and a basic love story. And obviously, so much of the film's success being adapted from the books comes on the pairing of you and Kristen Stewart. How was the audition process for the two of you guys? I heard you basically just like rolled around in bed and made out at Captain's. Is that kind of what happened?
Yeah, pretty much. No, we did. I had to do 2 scenes. There were like 2 key scenes, and I prepared for them, and when we did that, and it went quite well. I was like, oh, that went quite well for an audition. And then Catherine said, oh, we're going to do this scene as well. And I read it's like 2 lines, and then just like making out, and then I try and kill her. And I literally only just met her, and like Kristen's a relatively intimidating person as well, and just being like, okay, so how do I go about beginning this situation? It's like, do we actually kiss? And the thing is, like, should I sort of be like that far away or whatever? No, it was a funny audition.
It must have been a strange shoot too, being up in the middle of nowhere in the freezing rain all day, and you're making this vampire movie that you're being told is going to be a big deal, but you don't really know.
And no one knew. No one knew. Not even the producers knew when we were doing it. No one was saying like, this is going to be the biggest movie of the year, blah blah blah. It was just like we were just like just struggling to get through it. It kept raining all the time. Yeah.
So you had that experience for the first one. Are you signed up for a few more already? Are you locked in?
I went into it as when it was a trilogy, and I was, I signed on for the trilogy. Mm-hmm. But I guess it's all dependent on, I guess if I get fired and if it makes money.
Let's get to the actual story and the relationship between your character and Bella. What do you think it is about that connection, whether it's the books or the film, that has people so enamored with the world of Twilight?
Oh, I mean, I think there's a thing about the books where, when I was reading them, I don't know how to read it from, teenage or any kind of woman's perspective, I guess. I don't really know why they like it, but what I thought was weird about it and what the reaction I had with it was, when I read it, it seemed like I was convinced that Stephanie was convinced she was Bella, and it wasn't. It was like it was a book that wasn't supposed to be published, and you're like reading her sort of sexual fantasy about and especially when she says, "Oh, it was based on a dream," and it's like, "Oh, I had this dream about this really sexy guy," and she just writes this book about it, and like some things about Edward are so specific, and it's like I was just convinced that it's like this woman is mad. She's completely mad, and she's in love with her own fictional creation, and like sometimes you like feel like uncomfortable reading this thing, and I think a lot of people feel that it is in the same way. It's kind of voyeuristic, and it creates this kind of, it's like kind of like a sick pleasure in a lot of ways, but then it kind of introduces a lot of like the action elements, and it's very honest. It's really, really honest, and that's kind of what's weird about it.